To start off this video, what anime character comes to mind when you think of the word villain? Just then, who was it? What character instantly appeared in your head? Since the one that does for me is who I'm going to be talking about in this video. They're not necessarily my favourite villain of all time, that honour will go to Shogo Makishima from Psycho Pass, but anyway, this character is probably the most memorable, and I guess the most distinct villain in anime for me. Of course, I am talking about Yoshikage Kira is a perfect villain in my eyes due to one key factor: simplicity. He's on the surface just a normal, regular guy, blending into society while hidden in plain sight. So before I say any more, let me dive into some context so you know what I'm on about. Yoshikage Kira is the main antagonist of Diamond is Unbreakable, the fourth part of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, of which he shows up roughly halfway through the series and is the psychopath responsible for the ongoing serial murders within the town of Morio, of which JoJo Part 4 is set. Kira is a textbook psychopath. He's incredibly individualistic, only killing for self-satisfaction with no ultimate reasons behind the murders, other than preserving his own warped lifestyle that he believes brings him the most enjoyment in life. He usually targets young women who he murders without leaving a trace, with the only evidence being one severed hand he cuts off all his victims and keeps as a companion to satisfy his disturbing fetish for severed hands, highlighting his complete lack of morality, living in a world where he deems only himself as important. This all paints a picture of an incredibly childish and immature killer. He murders for fun without any genuine motive other than, once again, his own self-satisfaction, and is prepared to go by any means necessary to ensure his identity is never found out so he can continue to live what he constantly deems as his peaceful life. But this, I think, is the most interesting part of his character: the denial of expectations that he is indeed a childish psychopath looking from the inside out, as on the surface he is presented as a completely normal person in society. This contrast between his professional and refined demeanour he presents himself on the outside against his horrific murderous tendencies within his internal psyche make him out to be a really interesting character, and I think this is encapsulated no better than during his famous monologue. Thanks to the fact this monologue has been memed up and down the internet, the "My name is Yoshikage Kira, I'm 33 years old" speech has become pretty famous, and for good reason in my opinion, as this monologue encapsulates his entire character in a single paragraph. He describes his life as a completely normal sequence of events in which he unveils his ideology of a quiet life of peace, free of any interruptions, with his usual calm outwards professionalism, saying, "I take care not to trouble myself with any enemies, like winning and losing that would cause me to lose sleep at night. That is how I deal with society, and I know it is what brings me happiness." This whole scene that I would highly recommend watching gives us a really good insight into his motivations, or should I say lack of motivations, as we're constantly reminded all Kira Yoshikage wants to do is live a quiet life away from the stress of society in a world where he finally feels satisfied. Of the main villains of the JoJo anime up to part 5, he is without question my favourite villain just because of how real he feels. It's terrifying to imagine someone so normal on the outside can simultaneously be capable of such despicable acts. I mean, there's a common saying that a person walks past at least 16 murderers throughout their lifetime, and a real person like Yoshikage Kira would probably be among them. It's actually quite refreshing to have a villain without any over-the-top outrageous motives, especially in JoJo, where the previous part had a vampire set on world domination, and before that an ancient Aztec warrior set on becoming an ultimate life form, and then you have Yoshikage Kira, your everyday 9-to-5 worker with a bit of murder on the side. His own self-satisfaction is his driving force in life. He proudly hides himself in plain sight, blending into society, as seen on a couple of occasions, walking behind our protagonist Josuke with his identity still unknown, and even showing up among all the other characters in the first opening of Part 4. There he is, hidden in plain sight with the rest of the cast, long before he's even introduced in the story. Also, I do want to briefly talk about Kira's theme, which I think complements his character so well. The ominous piano opening directly links to his mysterious and sinister character, and the sudden change always spooks me for some reason. I don't know why it is, but it always just puts me on edge whenever that bit comes up, although I suppose that is what they intended. And in a similar manner, Kira's voice also complements his character just as well. The Japanese voice actor Toshiyuki Morikawa, and even his English voice actor DC Douglas, absolutely knocked it out the park with their performances as Kira. I don't know how to put it other than just showing it to you.
酒はたしなむ程度。夜11時には床につき、必ず8時間は睡眠をとるようにしている。
I don't like smoking, but do enjoy the occasional drink. I'm always in bed by 11 p.m., and I make it a point to get no less than 8 hours of sleep each night.
So as you may be able to tell, I'm kind of rushing a bit, and that's because I want to break away from the more serious psychological aspect of Yoshikage Kira's character, and instead talk about him in a less serious manner. Of course, starting with his stands, all named after Queen albums or songs, we have the stand itself, Killer Queen, and also Sheer Heart Attack and later on Bites the Dust, all of which are some of the coolest stands in the entire series in my opinion. Killer Queen is pretty simple in concept, a regular humanoid stand like Star Platinum, except for the fact that anything it touches, it can turn into a bomb. Nothing more, nothing less. It's just a really cool ability, and I don't know what to dissect. It's probably my favourite stand in part 4. But then later on we have a much more complex sub-stand, Bites the Dust, and as of part 5, this is my favourite stand to do with time manipulation. Sticking a person's life in a time loop, sending the world back an hour into the past, if Kira's identity is revealed to anyone else, which also acts as the detonator for the bomb, killing those who discover his identity, leaving him absolutely untraceable. Kira's character design as well is iconic, to put it lightly. Allegedly based on singer David Bowie, it further emphasises my main point from earlier, his outward appearance clashing against his psychopathic nature, as he's presented as nothing but a handsome young man with nothing apparently obvious to suggest otherwise. And with that being said, I think I should finally come to a conclusion. Yoshikage Kira is a very interesting character. On the surface he's a calm and calculated regular guy, but underneath he's a childish and psychotic serial killer, which becomes ironic when considering his constant idea of striving for a peaceful life devoid of any stress. Everything from his voice, his theme, his character design, Killer Queen, his sinister atmosphere and complex psychology obviously make him a top tier villain for me, and I think it would be pretty hard to argue otherwise. And for that, he is currently my favourite JoJo villain, but I have heard Part 7's villain is even better, so I hope to finish that soon. And with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!